Waking up slow this morning for Bitcoin Liberty Live.
Yeah, a little bit slow. It's had kind of a rough night, it sounds like.
Up a little late for fun and family business, but
So
yeah.
less fun.
Family, I tell you.
Fuck them.
Bitcoin's holding steady above 100K. USD fiat just kind of floating along.
Yeah, it's going to float there for a little while. I mean, you know, the Bitcoin price, if you don't like it today, it'll be different tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Just wait. Have you heard of the BIP 176 kind of resurgence of its head about confronting unit bias about Bitcoins versus Satoshis, or using the term bits, or just replacing bits and or Satoshis with the term Bitcoin? And have you heard any of that? Yeah, it's been on.
I've been so far from like Twitter and everything. Like last week I was sick of shit. I just couldn't bring myself, like I would open Twitter and just be going, ugh, I don't want to read any of this crap. And so I just put it down. And then, you know, like getting ready to move and all that kind of stuff. It's sort of like, so the world is just passing right by.
Well, if I can update a summary of what I've gleaned off of there's kind of a hot, interesting discussion, arguments over, it's not totally new. It's been discussed years ago about unit bias and the terms we use for units of Bitcoin. And it's defined in the code for like what names are for denominations of things, and to the extent that like a Satoshi is 100 million Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah,
and it's just, yeah. So, and then the term Bitcoin, as the fiat price goes up, or, you know, various fiat prices go up, like literally yesterday I was in the finance department of where I work, and people there Bitcoin curious actually, and talking to them, like, and I just literally straight up tell them I'm all in Bitcoin. I mean, kind of joking, not joking, like the county needs to get in on Bitcoin. Seriously, the finance director was out, but I said, you know, we've got all these various investments and all that stuff, but I'm all Bitcoin. They're like, you're all Bitcoin? I'm like, well,
all Bitcoin.
As far as anything planning for the future, Bitcoin's the apex predator, only real asset to be holding, and the county should be holding some.
Yeah, if they had half a brain on their heads.
And they not that they were against it, it's just so new. I run right into it's like, man, Bitcoin's so expensive though, or they look at it as like a stock, right, or they don't know at all how it's denominated, or how you can break it into little bits, or and I know with UTXOs it's not like, oh yeah, it's exactly, that's how it works. But when you do the math, that's what it is. There's, you know, amounts of units that make up another amount of a unit of what we consider to be a big unit, whatever. Okay, but people have no idea how many of what is what, and all they know is like Bitcoin, and then it's immediately how much is Bitcoin in dollars, and that's their language.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's the language we started with.
Yeah, it's our native language of money. So it creates, there's inherent unit bias out there of when people talk of Bitcoin, and then as the value in their fiat world goes up and up and up, it's hard to say that transactions are just these fractions of Bitcoin, and our brains don't, you can't see a decimal point with a bunch of zeros and do the math as easy. It's kind of like, how much is that? What do I call that? It's like a fraction of a Bitcoin. And then you say, some people have a little cringe feeling of Satoshis, sats.
I've never really liked sats.
I never loved it. I've always felt like, oh, sats. That's real intuitive.
I think bits. I like bits.
So a bit is 100 sats, Satoshis.
Yeah.
And so Jimmy Song wants to use the term Bitcoin, or no, I'm sorry, bits. I'm trying to remember now. People are talking about using the word Bitcoin for a bit, which is like 100 sats. The comparison being, like you can say bits like $1, and then the pennies, 100 pennies in $1 is a sat. So bits and sats. Or just calling bits Bitcoin.
I don't know why they're not, I mean, I've seen people use like milli-Bitcoin and decibitcoin.
I can never figure out, what does that mean? I have to do the math.
What do you mean?
Like I hear here's so many.
Oh yeah, you're American. I forgot. Yeah.
So many. I mean, I get
standard metrics.
I get the metric and the decimal. It's a decimal thing, But when somebody just says milli Bitcoin, I have to think, okay, that's 100 million sats in a Bitcoin, so a million would be a bit, 100 sats.
Well,
okay,
I mean, the same's true if someone said a Satoshi a bit, and I mean, you still have to math it, right?
So the idea would be that down the road, as people learn and indoctrinate, people might just say, oh, so many Bitcoin, and that might be 100 sats.
Yeah.
And the word lowercase b, Bitcoin, is kind of intuitive with a dollar.
Right.
And as the price goes up, it kind of compares until all models break, of course. But
yeah, well, I always kind of intuitively just think of Bitcoin at dollar parity per sat, right? So, but I always stuck with what the paper said, which was Bitcoin. Like, if you've got, 0.1 Bitcoin, you've got a million sats, right?
Yeah.
So
I can think it's
so I got a million Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then so also people's unit bias or not misunderstanding of Bitcoin being if we replace the word and people start using the term Bitcoin for 100 sats or a sat, there's arguments on whether lowercase b Bitcoin should be what we would consider a bit or a sat, but to kind of just open up unit bias there, alleviate unit bias.
Just move the decimal point. That makes it pretty easy.
And some people are going to literally say, like, that Bitcoin's value just suddenly dropped by 1,000x. I mean, it's stupid, but people would think that. Like, Bitcoin used to be worth 100,000, and now what? Bitcoin's worth $1 or $100?
Right.
I mean, people literally have no idea. So it would take time and cultural indoctrination on learning the language, but people don't know the language right now anyway, hardly. So
right.
maybe so BIP 176 is...
let's get the nomenclature set.
Yeah. So Jimmy Sung's on board. Others are actually kind of getting on board with, let's just make this change. And you don't change anything to the code. It's purely software interface terms used, and you just know what you're doing when you do it with your wallet or on your app or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you see it, you can say, okay, I get it. Guys like you and me who are used to Bitcoin and sats would have to realize, okay, it's a lowercase b Bitcoin, or like how much, and double check the sats or something. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But eventually we'd all figure it out. This guy named John Carvalho has been on X a whole lot, and he's recently pushing a very well-written BIP, Bitcoin improvement proposal, to the reasoning and what exactly it would do and how we do it, and nothing with software coding change, no fork of any kind, just purely adjusting terms, language when we write about it, talk about it, and wallet terms used, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Did you read it?
So my first blush with the idea was like, oh, great, we're trying to fix something that's not broke and concede to people who don't get it anyway, so fuck them. That was my initial blush, is they don't get it, fuck them. If they can't understand Satoshis versus, oh, Bitcoin's so expensive, well, you'll figure it out eventually, but fuck you. That's my initial blush. As I read the proposal, and I heard a lot of prominent folks saying, it could alleviate unit bias. It could get people kind of thinking, like, when they say Bitcoin, it's a usable amount that they understand, like $1.
Right.
And I start to feel like, well, that could work well. I don't know.
People would love to have 1,000 Bitcoin, right?
Right.
But people are, I think, less enthusiastic about 0.0001 Bitcoin.
Yeah. When you're buying it, you're like, you feel like you never have anything, because you're like, all the units, you're like, I just spent a whole bunch on a 0.001 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Versus long ago, I changed my base unit to Satoshis. I'm like, I just bought 1 million Bitcoin.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. Feels good, man.
Feels good.
Yeah. Feels
so
better.
I'm used to feeling proud over the Satoshis I own versus the Bitcoin I don't own. And that just floats my boat in terms of value, in terms of unit bias.
Right.
Other people are always perpetually going to feel like I don't have any Bitcoin, really, hardly.
Oh.
And I'll be like, no, you got millions of sats. Yeah, I guess.
Well, the crazy thing about it is like there were guys in 2011 that were like, here's 10 grand for a bag of pot, or here's 10,000 Bitcoin for a bag of pot, or here's 5,000 Bitcoin for a widget or a thingy. I mean, there was like the Bitcoin faucet that would just give you like 5 or 10 Bitcoin.
Yeah, if you asked, they just were like, here you go.
Here you go,
get
have
it
some
out
Bitcoin.
there.
Yeah, like get this spreading.
Crazy.
And today, people would shudder at that thought. You just spent what, 10,000 Bitcoin on a bag of pot? Yeah. Like people would think you're a lunatic, right?
Like, what else am I going to do with it?
But the thing is, I think, 10 years time from now, if you told someone I spent 10,000 sats on a bag of pot, they'd be like, you did what? Are you crazy? What the? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think it's just going to, people will naturally, I think, coalesce around whatever numerator that works. I don't know why it reminds me of this, but my buddy was in a business management class, and they built a building, and the engineers of the building realized that like every time they put in a walkway somewhere, people just kind of find the most advantageous route to their destination. So people would put these big elaborate walkways with gardens and stuff,
and then
people
there's
are just
dirt
like
trails elsewhere.
Yeah, people are just traipsing through the daisies, to get to the door.
My college campus was just like that, and then they're like, let's just put the sidewalks where the trails are.
Well, what this building company did was they built the perimeter, like the parking lot or whatever, and then it was just grass.
Mm-hmm.
And there were no obvious ways to get to the building. So they just let everybody figure it out.
And then after a while...
Yeah, then they went, oh, that's where we should put the path,
yep.
because that's what everyone is already using.
Yeah.
So navigating to and fro, they just kind of let nature take its course, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, and I have no basis for this observation other than that little building example is not really relevant, but I think the same thing's going to happen with Bitcoin eventually. It's just going to get to like that.
And, companies and, companies that make wallets or services or whatever are going to trend towards directions that their consumers want or complain about or whatever if they're going to, be it like any business that is successful.
Right.
I think businesses will adapt to customer demand. There's some old school Bitcoin, like people who are used to, having seen the terms in the code and know how the code works and how it technically works. And like, no, this is it. It's what it is.
Right.
And so everyone has to adapt to that, and nobody really cares.
Yeah.
And other people are either going to just stay confused, or vernacular will just change culturally on its own.
I mean, that's the thing is like, according to the code, it's 1 Bitcoin is a Bitcoin, right? Mm. And 100 million Bitcoin is a Bitcoin, right? So you kind of...
There's a line of code in there that defines a Satoshi as 100 million... Or a Bitcoin is 100 million Satoshis. There's a, what is it called? I can't remember
I thought the white paper said it's just, because I remember this little quote from the Satoshi book I bought, where he said it's just basically, it doesn't matter where you put the decimal.
Yeah, he does say that. He does, it's all Bitcoin, and then there's a .h file in the C code that defines units, and it defines a lot of things, including bits and Satoshis, and it's like a number of units.
Oh, well, if it's already there, then why don't we just use that? Seems pretty straightforward.
So Satoshis and bits are defined in there, and
that's enough.
Some people are saying nobody wants to say or use or cringe at the term sats or Satoshi, and I kind of get that.
Nobody wants to what?
People aren't used to using the term Satoshi, like as a unit, the smallest unit. The word Satoshi isn't intuitive or likable. I mean, I don't love the term necessarily. It's like instead of a penny, it's a Satoshi or a sat.
Right.
It seems always kind of like, okay, it's just something I have to remember. Not remember, but it's different and kind of weird. But that's purely just bias. Bits can be conflated with other terms and concepts we have about what a bit is. Like
well, it's like 2 bits, right?
Kind of.
How much is a haircut? 2 bits.
2 bits. Yeah. So
it's kind of
if a bit's 100 sats, maybe bits is a good term. And now BIP 176 is kind of pushing towards the term Bitcoin for people that everyone knows Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin.
Right.
And if people are going to use a vernacular for Bitcoin, that should be like a small amount that is graspable.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of just, it's arbitrary, but I don't know where it's going. But I'm not against it. I just don't know where it's landing or what the best route is.
Yeah, it'll be fun either way. I hope they come up with something fun. It'd be nice to just walk around and tell people how many hundreds of millions of whatever I have. I could be like the Doge guy. I have 26 billion Dogecoin.
It's funny culturally how people, it's kind of like, and I don't know, maybe it's Americans, but it's sort of like not talking about money, or you can talk about stuff and things, but you don't just say, how much do you make exactly? Or, oh, how much was that? You know, it's a little bit of an ask, unless you're good buddies or something.
I learned a trick to get around that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Finish your thought.
Well,
I'll share the trick.
So it's kind of like manners about how much do you make? How much was that? What, like, sort of like, what's your money, you know?
Right.
And people are like, it is what it is, man. You know, we all do our thing. So, but then with Bitcoin, I find people just not really thinking about it. They think in terms of like, it's a hobby. So how many do you have? What do you have?
Oh.
And it's kind of like, huh? Like, that's kind of personal in a way, or lending vulnerability and trust to somebody like, you know, who knows, years later, what do they think about that? Like, oh, Fritz,
maybe. Yeah.
My own mom was like, well, how many Bitcoin do you have, really?
That's none of your goddamn business.
All I can say is, like, quite a few.
Yeah.
And wink, like, it doesn't matter, because you could have a million sats, and that's as good and great as, you know,
Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
So for me to say, oh, well, you know, back in da-da-da-da-da, so-and-so said they had da-da-da-da-da, what does that mean? Oh, my God, whatever they think about it.
Right.
Or judging your use of it, or your hoarding of it, or all that.
Yeah.
So anyway, you deal with some of that in terms of Bitcoin as money, and people like just wanting to know, like, well, how much do you have? Anyway, so what were you saying about?
So here's the trick to get around if you wanted to ask someone like private information that would be awkward to ask otherwise, is you frame it as a fact. So if I came up to you and I didn't know you and you were standing in a store or something like that, and I wanted to know how much parole and probation officers made, I could do something like, hey, jibber jabber, talk, talk, talk. Oh, you must be really happy. I just read in the Washington Post that Oregon parole and probation officers just got a raise to $50 an hour. How excited must you be? And overwhelmingly, people will be like, I need to correct this misinformation right now. What? I wish.
$50 an hour.
I only get $26 an hour. And you go, oh, really? That's weird. The Washington Post said you guys are getting $50 an hour.
Yeah, the feds maybe, or
so that. But the thing is, you could do that to someone like a grocery store clerk, right? You just walk up and you go, hey, go find out how much that guy makes. If you walk up to a grocery store clerk,
oh, I heard the grocers union just get da-da-da-da.
I just read in some authoritative source. Okay. Some authoritative source just told me this factual information. You must be excited. Hey, are you a clerk here? Yeah. Oh my God, you must be so thrilled right now. What are you talking about? I just read that you guys just got a huge raise. You're making $50 an hour now. $50 an hour, is that
like a ruse?
Yeah, it's a ruse. You know, their inclination is, are you kidding? Oh my God, dude, we started like $10 an hour. What are you talking about? Really? Huh.
Or if they're like, oh, makes sense. Yeah, could be. I don't know. I hadn't heard that. You might know maybe that's kind of what they're making.
Well, but the thing is, you would probably have a pretty good idea. Like the grocery store clerk is probably not making $50 an hour, right? So, I mean, you might have got tripped up if you're asking a UPS driver. Because those guys make $50 an hour now. If you're wondering why your shipping costs are going up, Bidenomics.
That's the thing is like, hey, I heard your number went up. Does that mean something good? Not necessarily. It means maybe you're keeping up or just not falling behind as much.
Well, back when I was a gold bug, I'll never forget this conversation because it was right when I was sort of tripping down the daisy path of getting like hardcore into socking away gold and silver and stuff like that. And it's probably around 2003 or something like that. But I remember talking to my neighbor in Valencia, California, And I said, man, my house has gone up so much. I bought this place for like $250. It's, houses around here going $375, $390 now. Like, that's crazy. And he said, your house didn't go up, the dollar went down, dude. Like, that's all you're learning about right now is how much of your purchasing power is going away. And he wasn't like a gold dude. And I was kind of a gold dude at the time. And, when I put the two together, I was like, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, it's not, my gold isn't going up. My house didn't go up. Everything else, the value of the dollar went down.
That's a good concept to get through.
Yeah, especially early on, and I mean, people talk about Bitcoiners all understand this intuitively, right? They just go, yeah, well, my Bitcoin didn't really go up. It's just my ability to buy stuff with your little fiat bucks went down again and again and again, which is why, everything goes to zero against Bitcoin, right? Because they have to print. And so, yeah, I mean, but that's, like when people say, well, how much Bitcoin do you have? You go, well, I don't really like talking about that. Right now, I feel like I have enough,
Yeah, I have enough.
I have enough. I mean, it's not, but I always, it's not like I'm crazy rich. I'm going to go buy a jet or something like that. It's just,
right.
I have enough,
Never enough, but also like enough.
Well, lately I've been kind of feeling like, Lynn Alden first brought it up. She said, I think I have enough Bitcoin. Like, she's not stacking anymore.
Sure.
Right? And I went, but I mean, what she said was like, I'm so bullish on the future of Bitcoin. Like, I think what I have right now is an enormous amount of Bitcoin. Like, I'm not really worried about it. And the thing is, you look at someone like Lynn Alden, you go, well, that could be 1 to 10,000. Like, it's really hard to say. I mean, I would probably guess it's probably.
I'm going to guess it's decent.
Well, I'm guessing it's probably closer to 1 than to 10,000.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, I can see that.
But I mean, between 1 and 100 is a pretty huge expanse, right? And between 1 and 1,000 is like an enormous chasm, So if you're talking about like billionaires like Michael Saylor who are sitting on like what's his personal stash?
Oh man, like 400 and something, 450,000.
No, that's MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor.
Oh, Saylor,
himself,
I don't know.
I think he's at like 5,000 or 9,000 or something like that. Like, he's got a pretty big stack, right? But I mean, if you go back 15 years, if you said, "Oh, I got 9,000 Bitcoin," you go, "Oh, you got $50. Good for you." Like, it wouldn't mean boo. And again, I think 15 years from now, if you look back and someone says, "I got 0.1 Bitcoin," people's like, "Jesus Christ, dude!" But it would be kind of the equivalent today of someone saying, "I got 100," which was kind of the equivalent of someone in 2018 saying they got 1,000, which is kind of the equivalent of someone in 2012 saying they got 1 million. So
yeah, I've seen
where this goes.
Random thought experiments just kind of tossing out there on X, like people saying, and on Nostr, but people saying, how much is enough? But like, could you retire if you had 1 Bitcoin? Could you retire if you had 1 Bitcoin? Could you leave your fiat job? In 20 years, is 1 Bitcoin enough for your family and generational wealth? And part of me gets kind of tired of the thoughts about that because it's like I don't worry about it or don't want to worry about it, and I never feel like I have enough. But it is interesting to think about, like, down the road in the future when it is simply impossible to own or to start fresh and own a Bitcoin, a whole Bitcoin. Like, how much is enough? How much feels like enough?
Well, I think that goes down year after year.
It's going to go down every year.
Yeah. Well, I just read a really interesting article in Forbes, which very much mirrors what I've been preaching to people for the last 15 years, which is the Forbes article starts off going like, hey, what's the difference between rich and poor people, right? Or rich and middle class people, or whatever. They said rich people don't own things. I thought, oh, that's interesting. They rent experiences, right? Like, most rich people will not say, oh, I need to own a beach house, or I need to own a yacht, or I need to own a jet. They will rent those things for the experience, but they won't be burdened by them, And I've sort of taken that to an extreme. Like, I'm the literal Bitcoin meme of the guy with like the mattress on the floor and the chair. Like, I don't have shit. Like, I'm getting ready to move
nothing.
Now. And like my couple years that I've been here in town, like I stacked up a couple things. Like, I got like a little pull-up bar, and I just put that out and just gave that away. I mean, it cost me like $100 on Amazon. And, but I mean, I picked up little knickknacks and trinkets and doodads and stuff like that. But all of it, I just kind of looked at and went, oh, dumpster, dumpster, dumpster. And now the stuff that I'm like, these are important things that I want to hang on to. I think it's going to take me about 30 minutes to put it in my car, and I'm done, So, but the thing is when you are unburdened like that, like it's such a feeling of freedom, and it's really, really hard to encapsulate. And, when I think back to the times when I had a house and cars and all this stuff,
and you have to spend time maintaining it or being responsible and worrying about it or whatever.
Or just the first time you have to move and it's just like, Christ, I have so much stuff. And, when I first started getting my forced downsizing because I got laid off from a job, first I got divorced and then sold the house and then moved to like a little 2-bedroom apartment. And so I had to take all of my house and my garage and everything and filter it down to a 2-bedroom apartment. It was a huge apartment. It was like 1,500 square feet or something like that. And, I was trying to maintain my lifestyle and all this kind of stuff, but while renting now instead of owning. And, man, like I had machine shop tools and all this crazy shit like sitting in my living room, and it was such a pain in the ass. I mean, it cost me about like $1,500 just to move because I had so much heavy shit.
Pay a mover.
That someone had to come and get. Like it wasn't, I just couldn't do it on my own. And from there, I got laid off, and then that was like, oh, well, now I need to downsize my 1,500 square foot apartment, and all this stuff can't come with me. So then I started liquidating the tools and, the gun safe and all that kind of stuff. And all that stuff started shrinking down. But I'll never forget, in that moment, I got these big yard lawn bags, right? Those big black plastic, like 30-gallon bags or whatever. I filled 4 of those with clothes, dude. Clothes. Just like...
Yeah.
I mean, some of this stuff probably went back to the 80s.
I wear a quarter of the clothes hanging in my closet, my go-to ones. Then I go through the others, and it's like, I'm pretty Spartan in a way, and I still wear less than half my clothes regularly.
Well, that's the thing. I wear all of my clothes. I mean, it's the most, like, remarkable thing.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Like, because when I was culling stuff for this move, it was like, I had 2 button-down dress shirts that I decided to keep. I had those little like polo shirts, which I never wore previously. I bought them here, and I'm kind of like, well, they're kind of handy for like playing golf or whatever. So out of the 5, I think I picked the 3 I liked that didn't have like some oil stain on it or something. Threw out the other 2. But the rest of it was all like, I use that, I use that, I use that, I use that. But it's all nice and tidy. And it all just fit in one little bag, basically. So it's kind of like,
simplified. It's a real a healthy mindset in a way, not to be extremist about it, but to recognize
I'm super extremist.
and I think, recognizing what you need versus what you just are accustomed to kind of having around. When I moved from high school to college, I remember it was pretty simple, like you said, my clothes and my basic needs, my computer and peripheral stuff, and a few knickknacks, but it was pretty low burden.
Right.
And then through college and just, fun time lifestyle, I just sort of had accumulated stuff. And so moving around in college year by year, and then off to corporate work and renting an apartment in Seattle, I realized, my God, I could still fit it in my car, but it was packed.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, my whole life's in here, but it's just, I got a bunch of shit now.
Right.
But it's in my head, it was just kind of normal. Every year after that, as I moved and moved and moved, then I needed a truck. And then I needed a couple of hauls in a truck and a trailer.
Right.
And the last time I moved from one house to another, I sold a house and I had like a long weekend, but to move everything.
Yeah.
And we had to hire professional movers at that point and spend the money and get a big truck plus a couple other hauls. And it hit me like, I will never move again without a professional mover because it's just way too big a heavy, you got your furniture or my safe and it's just way too much. And when we moved and it was so kind of stressful, I was like, I am never moving again.
Yeah.
But then it's like, aren't I tied down?
Yeah, you are.
Oh my God!
Like you carry that stuff with you everywhere you go.
Like, and part of a barrier to thinking of moving my life again is the concept of, like, if I just owned as little as I had in college or something, I'd be like, hey, if we wanted to move, let's just up and move. If we have the personal agency and interest, we're not stuck. Let's just move.
Right.
It's a serious consideration right now that if we really had good reason to just move, it'd be like, well, what are we going to do with a house full of furnished everything?
Get rid of it.
Oh my God. Or sell the house and just say, as is, take it.
Yeah.
Make an offer.
I mean, yeah. But the thing is, like, you could throw up an estate sale and get rid of most of that stuff pretty quick.
Probably.
And have a little, fiat bucks to kind of pave the way to the next stop. But, yeah,
but some people can't, they don't want to let go of it. My family, a legacy of, like,
hoarding.
We're passing down this treasure to you.
Yeah. And
you pack it around, and I look at it years later, and I'm like, why the fuck do I have this thing that's effectively garbage?
Yeah.
That it's passed on sentimental value, but why though?
Right. Oh, dude. Like, my ex-girlfriend, her grandfather was the guy that wrote Get Your Kicks on Route 66. His name was Bobby Troop, right? And so that was, I don't know what year that was. He met Nat King Cole somehow and played him a few songs, and he said, ooh, I like that one. And so he turned that into a song, and then this guy was just overnight kind of success,
no kidding.
Right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, he recognized early on it's a hustle, right? Like, it's not like you get one song and then you're just like set. Like, so he just started cranking out music, and then he became an actor, and he was on that show Emergency. You remember that?
I think I heard of that.
Well, it was like the opening scene. It was like a California fire station, and then it was just a picture of the garage. The garage would open, and then the paramedic van would come out. And so there was the two main characters that drove the paramedic van, and they got in adventures and, kind of like Chips, except EMTs, right?
EMT Chips.
And then there was like the doctors at the hospital, and that was Bobby Troop's role. He was the ER doctor. And then like his daughter was on there, and so it's sort of a fun little kind of
that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, but the broader point of all this is through the years, like this family was just crazy to me because it was so foreign to my existence. Like, I grew up middle class, just sort of bland, go work a little sideshow job at some sandwich place or something like that, and then go to school, and then go on and get some other sideshow job where you just sit there and push buttons or send emails or whatever. These people did not live that life. They're just completely different. Like, her aunt was like married to Dean Martin, and like, it was just
kind of a different class.
Yeah, just a completely different, like, not in my orbit. So it was really fascinating to be sort of around it. But after Bobby Troop had passed away, they had like this storage unit of all his stuff, and I mean, it was just packed to the brim. And the family was collectively paying for it, but it was like $1,500 a month that they had to like maintain the junk
closet. Yeah,
right. I mean, but it was it's like a wealthy person who had a lot of success in life that accumulated just piles and piles and piles of stuff. I remember they finally, as a family, got together and went, hey, you know what? Maybe we should just get rid of this damn thing. Like, why don't we clear that out, find some stuff, whatever's important to us. It's like, oh, that's family memory stuff. Let's keep that. Then get rid of the rest of the stuff. Why are we toting it around?
Yeah.
And but that was such a huge undertaking, dude. It took them months.
Well, and emotionally, as I've done it, like, a grandparent dies and you're going through stuff, and it's like, oh, like this was the jacket he wore through World War II.
Right.
And it's tattered, and it went through France, and you're like, well, I mean, what do we pretend to have a family museum? And you don't want to get rid of it, but nobody's ever going to wear it, and it's like, what do? And anyway, you have a lot of sentimental value tied up in the most random things, and sometimes they're trinkets that have a story, and you realize that this is like just a plastic thing from the 50s that sits on a shelf.
He would have thrown it away at the time if it had been ruined somehow, right? He would have went, oh man, I tore my favorite jacket and I spilled paint all over it. Like, no thought whatsoever. Nobody would have
thrown away back society
and just said, oh my God, Grandpa's paint stained torn jacket that he threw out. Let's dig it out of the trash. So 50 years from now, we can worship it.
Yeah, like we all need a museum,
right?
And every aging boomer that we have in our lives now would expect that their their descendants maintain their museum of Grandpa.
Junk,
yeah. Charge admission to see Grandpa's random stuff.
There's actually an article about that. Like all these like millennials and Gen Xers and stuff like that. Like their parents are starting to die. And they're like, please don't leave me all this crap. Like, I don't want, I don't want your family china. I don't want the fucking turkey ladle serving set and sterling silver. I don't want any of this shit. Just get it.
I saw the funniest cartoon. My wife sent it to me a few months ago, and it was Dad with an open garage door. You can see inside. And it's just full of just stuff, junk and whatever. And son is standing there in front of Dad, and Dad says, "Son, when I die, all of this is yours." And son's like, "Thanks." Like I basically, when you die, I
have a job.
I have a job to like decide how guilty I feel over throwing away all this shit.
Dude, zero. Fucking zero.
I was trained to be very sentimental as a kid, as a grandkid, and like, oh, all these family heirlooms are treasures, and they all have a story, and our family's so important. And then I'd be going through stuff and for years, carting it around. When I moved, I'd be like, here's another handful of boxes that I didn't open this box since the last time I moved, and I'm not going to open it ever again. And what am I going to?
Until the next time I move.
Am I going to open it someday for my kids? And hey, you want to see all of Grandpa's stuff? And they're like, no. Well, will you indulge me? And we'll go through it. And they're like, okay. And you go through it, and then when do you get rid of it? Oh my God!
As soon as you want. Like, I mean, that's the beauty of it. Like, and what I found in my years of like culling junk is like there are little tokens that you can hang on to. Like my grandfather handed down a pocket knife to my dad. My dad handed down the pocket knife to me. My dad didn't carry this thing everywhere. He just had it in a drawer somewhere. And then when he passed away, like his wife said, "Hey, you probably want this," and I went, "Yeah, actually, I do."
Yeah, something like that.
It's a token, right? You go like, okay, it's not a memorial.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that once in a while when you're digging around through a drawer, you go, oh, Grandpa. Boom, and then you can move on, right? Mm-hmm. But you certainly don't need like Grandpa's entire wardrobe, right? You don't need, hey, those were Grandpa's favorite shoes. That was Grandpa's favorite hat. That was his favorite cane. That was his favorite crutches. That was when he was in a wheelchair. That was, I mean, like, all this stuff is just...
This is the time that one year in the 80s we went to Portugal, and it's useful for nothing, but it was our memory, and we told you about it once.
So find the tokens is my thing, is you just go like, because I have this... The one thing I've sort of carried around, just for, like, the curiosity of it all, is I used to write letters to my friends, and my friends would write me letters, and as I moved to LA and stuff like that, or when my friend went to Iraq the first time, like he was writing me letters from the war zone, and so I've kind of held on to this little bundle of letters, right? But it's like, again, it's like a token, but it's also one of those things like I feel like maybe someday I'll sit there, because it's sort of, these are all moving experiences, right? And part of moving is very an emotional kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's you're
going through it. I mean, you've been through it.
Right. And so as I'm going through it and as I'm culling things and finding like, oh yeah, I remember when I bought the spoon because I didn't have a spoon, so now I can throw the spoon out or whatever it is, But then you'll come across these little things and there's just that moment of like, oh, and then you pull the letter out and go, oh my God, like I was 19 when I wrote this, And so there's that sort of fun novelty, and then you can put it away. But that thing, it doesn't take up much mass, I mean, it's not weight and mass, it's just
a shoebox of letters. Okay.
Yeah, pictures, like little trinkets, but everywhere I've been in the world, because I've been all around the world, right? But I have little tokens from all those things, and it's not like they're kind of there and they flash an immediate memory. It's almost like, when you smell like, oh my God, that's like Grandma's kitchen back in 1970 when...
The value is really in your life memories.
Yeah, so they're just little memory triggers to make sure that you don't forget. But they all fit in like one bag. Like I've got like a Ziploc baggie that's got like coins of various currencies and like a little puzzle thing that someone played with me in a bar somewhere. And I was like, oh my God, but
I remember that.
Yeah. And the pocket knife and like a little friendship bracelet from like 1993 and, shit like that. But there's nothing where it's just like,
it's your memory.
Yeah, it's just my little memory jogger, but it's not. So I feel like it satisfies a lot of that like sentimentality because you have enough there to maintain a link.
Yeah.
But you don't have the entire pathway.
And it gives you as a person your sense of your roots, your life, your story, instead of just kind of, well, what's next? You know, what is my life? I don't know. It grounds you in a way. It's who you are.
Exactly.
But
on some level.
Is who you are, does it need to be all this big stuff and projects, or can it be meaningful
tokens?
You know, this gold watch I kept in my ass. I kept in my ass. Now this gold watch I give to you, and the kid just grabs it. It's like, my gold watch.
Yeah, I need my watch.
Grandpa kept it in his ass for Vietnam. So something like a gold watch that went through Grandpa's ass. Yeah, I'd probably keep that.
Yeah, it's a good token.
A lot of other stuff. Well, I have tools of my dad's that it's funny. He had when he was a kid. I played with them when I was a kid. He basically left them for me. They're tools. I use them. I have a hammer and a ruler, and my dad had like scratched his name in it in this funny little script when he was a kid.
Right.
And it works, so I use it. Yeah. And every time I use this ruler or I get this hammer out and I see my dad's name and I'm hammering, there's this little memory of him as a kid, me whacking on nails, and him being generous with my projects in the garage with his hammer. And then he like just let me have it. It's like, I have a hammer, and it was my dad's,
right,
and I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
But do I need the heirloom that is at best to be dusted off every year? It's
like the gravy boat, right? Like, here's the gravy boat set.
Our family's china.
Yeah.
My grandparents were very
get rid of that stuff.
When one set of my grandparents died, and my other set too, they had a similar set, but one set of grandparents had like two sets of whole china in a nice cabinet, and it just, for my whole life, like, we might have gotten it out once or twice, I don't know, but it mainly just sat there, took up space. It was a backdrop, and it was china, and I mean, like, you turn it over, made in China, and you're like, okay,
I guess it's
nice.
China. Yeah.
Wow, China. It was like a porcelain, nice, colored stuff.
Yeah.
And when they died, and it was kind of like, it felt really like it was almost funny, but the family's there, kind of like, if you want something, put your name on it. If there's more than one name on it, we'll talk about it. But we're just getting rid of stuff. It was all cool until it wasn't. And as you know how that goes. And anyway, it came down to like, who wants all the two sets of china?
Yeah.
Like, talking to my sister, talking to me, my mom, and another case anyway, like, do you want the china? Doesn't somebody want the china?
No.
And I was at a point in my life then where I was like,
not.
Part of me felt like I really should say sure. I mean, wow, free china. And I was like, God, I'm not going to use it. What am I going to do? Cart it around, try not to break it.
Right.
And why? Like,
for sentimentality.
Do we need china?
Yeah.
Is that a thing nowadays? Let's get out the fine china.
No.
Like,
if you have a big Thanksgiving dinner, like 50% of the time nowadays, I think people will be on like, we got the nice disposable plate.
Yeah. Can I just eat? Like, if I drop this, are you mad at me?
Yeah, I don't want to break.
If I scratch
important.
the plate, are you sad about that?
And they go, no, because we got the fancy disposable plates. They're sturdy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get rid of all that junk, man. Or I'll tell you what, think about it like this. Like, if you had like a 2,000 square foot house, right? And it goes for, I don't know, $500,000. Like, what is that per square foot? Come on, do some fast math.
Say the numbers again, I'm sorry.
2,000 square foot house, $500,000 sales price.
5,000 divided by how much?
2,000.
2,000.
No, 500,000.
500,000 divided by 2,000 would be 250. 250.
Is it? Sure. Let's run with that. So it's $250 per square foot, right?
Yeah.
That's just round number.
I don't have my math brain on this morning, so
I certainly don't. I should have made it easier, like $200,000. It'd be $100 square foot, right?
Okay.
So let's say it's a $200,000, 2,000 square foot house, and this is 1992 right now. But anyway, so that means every square foot in that house cost you $100. So if you have that china cabinet with all that china shit in it, and that takes up like 10 square feet, let's just say, round number, you're talking $1,000 of real estate that you've devoted to this thing that is a backdrop.
Right.
right? That if you break it, people get upset. And if the thing falls over an earthquake, it's going to take forever to clean up. And when you go to move it, it's about 700 pounds worth of stuff that has to be boxed and packaged and little layers of tissue between everything. And so you think about that, it's $1,000 of real estate and then hundreds of hours of labor and nonsense surrounding this backdrop.
Yeah.
That would
It's
be
a
like
status symbol.
worshiping a poster, right? Like,
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about like how much a big, like the dining room table that nobody uses, like everyone eats in the kitchen or whatever, right? You go, well, but we have the nice formal dining room.
Yeah. When you do use it, it's there, but you never use it.
Yeah, but that's another like 10 or 15 square feet of house.
Yeah. A lot of houses are saying like people don't use living rooms like they used to, or dining rooms.
People have never used those things.
Yeah.
Like people use out of a 2,000 square foot house, if you look at the actual usage patterns, it's about 500 square feet. So you go, why don't you just live in 500 square feet and quit spending all this extra money and extra resources on storing a bunch of crap? It's like just creating storage units for yourself so you can burden your life further with a bunch of junk that you don't use anyway. So you can have the sentimental value of going, oh, look, I got a couch in there I haven't sat on in 2 years.
I just imagine when I'm elderly or when I die. Having gone to like some Bitcoin conferences and accumulated swag, and I got some swag in a bag, and I've got other swag up on my backdrop library, Bitcoin library, where I'll record video, or it's in my office, so it's my own thing, and it's just Bitcoin swag. Sure,
it really does smell like rotting garbage in here.
It's
I don't know what is going on in this place, but
somebody puked in the corner.
Someone puked in the corner, or something died in here, and no one's noticed or found it yet. I don't know, but it. Anyway,
we're
sorry. Continue.
So for me now, it's sentimental stuff in my Bitcoin journey and my Bitcoin library, my books, all that, and miners. So I just imagine instead of a china cabinet that when Grandpa dies and it's like, who wants the china?
Right.
It'll be like, hey,
miners?
Who wants all of Daddy's Bitcoin swag? Which I mean, okay, I don't know if they care about that.
Right.
But if there's some humming miners on the shelf and stuff, it might be like, if they care, I would sort of think I'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
I'll
take over the mining operation.
Can I have all the miners? I'll just I mean, okay, so that you're paying for the bit of electricity every month or whatever, but plug them in. Hey, what address is it going to? Update that. I don't know. I would sort of hope that my kids or whatever be like, I want to run Grandpa's miner.
Yeah.
It doesn't compete for shit,
right,
but you're validating the Bitcoin work.
You're part of the network, baby.
You're part of the network. Hey.
You're part of the revolution.
That is generational work. Proof of work. Proof of work. Who knows, maybe. My 3-year-old right now, she's still A's for Apple, B's for Bitcoin, C's for cookie. Nice. She knows it's a thing now, and Mommy will joke with her about it, and we go like,
how old is she?
3.5.
Oh, so yeah, good time.
She's learning her letters, and from the get-go, we joke about it in front of family. Sometimes I can say, she knows what to say now. It's a little trick, and I say, Edie, what's B for? And she goes, B for Bitcoin. Like she knows what that means.
Yeah.
What it means to her is that right there. I have that hanging on my wall.
Yeah.
And she'll walk in my office and she'll be like, Daddy, B for Bitcoin. And I'm like,
that's my girl.
So maybe she'll want my miners.
Yeah, maybe. I hope so. All right, I got to keep the miners running.
Yep.
I mean, that's the last thing I'm going to tear down before I move is my Bitcoin miner.
Unplug at the last minute. Hey, you never know. You might miss a block while you're moving.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got to keep the network robust, right?
Yeah. So, you know what I hate is like the first node I ever just threw together on Windows, and it's on a side machine I don't log into all the time. Goddamn Microsoft and their updates and the Windows and whatever. And there's times where I'm like, I got to do something on that machine. I log in and it's like, it wanted to update and it rebooted, and Bitcoin's been down for days.
Yeah, right.
Motherfuckers.
Fucking Windows.
I was running a node here and you just rebooted for me. Thank you.
You can turn all that shit off. I don't know. That's why I like the FutureBit solution. Here's a shout out for the FutureBit guys. FutureBit is awesome because it's like this neat little cube. It's got this self-contained little like up to about 8 or 9 terahash processor in it, ASIC. And then it's got Linux, a Linux distro built into it, and it's running its own node. Right?
Awesome.
So it's all just like one sort of plug and play, super simple kind of thing. And you can point your miner to your own node, so you can be like legit solo mining.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, these guys are phenomenal. And I had a little power supply issue, sent it back, they fixed it right up, sent it back FedEx expedited, and yeah, got it straight away, plugged it right in. And yeah, back up and running again. So it's, cool. I highly recommend the FutureBit guys. Not that they'll ever see this, but not that anyone will really see this.
I don't know. I had randomly, I had
are we famous yet?
No. But so that company Relay, they got some funding, like 12 million or something, to develop their software, and I don't know, some random promo guy followed me on LinkedIn and was taking a look at something. So I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
So thank you, Relay.
They're don't they make the Bitbox too?
I don't know.
I think they make the Bitbox 02. Like I think Robin Sayer from us, I think he uses a Bitbox, but I'm pretty sure they're from Relay, or I don't know how you say it. It's a Swiss company, right? Yeah, seems like a pretty solid outfit.
Yeah.
I like those
they're
guys.
Hiring.
They
were hiring. Yeah, I think they even had like remote positions. I think they
Dude,
want English-speaking folks.
I'd rather move to Switzerland, man.
I would move there
in a heartbeat. That place is
awesome.
Amazing. Oh my God.
I know this is a remote position, but can I have an office?
Yeah. Can I move out there, please? Pretty please?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be dope, dude. I don't know. But, yeah. You know, I've been working on my little device, super secret device. And I had this epiphany the other night. I ordered one version of it, multi-jet fusion printed, and I had a little brass insert put in there, and I kind of screwed the whole thing together, and it seemed to work pretty good. But then I realized, like, with this particular project, it's not that I'm just like trying to push something out, right? Like I just want to sell a thing. This is also, I mean, I think we're entering into a period of craftsmanship. I really do. And I think like the Bitcoin, as Bitcoin sort of transforms the world, I think what we are going to find is that there's going to be a really super high degree of specialization with really finely made things.
Sure.
That are going to become very valuable, right? Like mass-produced garbage, I think will always have its place because there's some things you just
want fast, cheap, and easy.
Right. But some things you want that.
Some people look for things that they think of as being important or of quality, and they go right into, well, what's fast, cheap, and easy?
Right.
And then you get it, and you're disappointed, and it's like the status quo is fast, cheap, and easy. Versus when you have the time preference or the ability mindset, Bitcoin standard to say, what is quality? Right. Or if I spend extra time, like, oh, I spent so much time on this thing, but it's got grassroots quality craftsman.
Well, that's what I came up with my design. Is I thought I need to make this thing high quality. Like this is a representation of not just a widget that I'm trying to sell the world, but this is partially like announcing who I am as a person. Right?
Don't put it out there till you know, like, yep.
This is exactly what I wanted. Yep. This is exactly, and when someone gets it, I feel like they're going to go, oh, I can see the thought, the care, and the intentionality that went into this thing, right? I hope. And so I just sort of backtracked from like, I need to push this thing out, I need to get this thing going, and blah, 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 blah. I just went, nope, I just need to get this thing right. Like I want this thing to be as close to exactly what I envisioned as possible, right? And so I redesigned a couple things, I tweaked a couple things. Part of the laser engraving is a little problematic, so it looks like I bought a laser engraver, so I'm gonna try and figure that out now and see if I can just do it myself. It kind of doubles the cost of that one component if I have them do it. So I'm like, well, I mean, if I can just bang out this little zip, 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 because it seems like a pretty straightforward operation, but I don't know. But once that's done, like I changed that little like table device that goes over the top. That's now going to be machined. It's not going to be printed anymore.
Cool.
Because I changed some of the dimensions for the thing to go into, and it was still a little bit loose. Like it could introduce And so I go, well, with machining, you get like a 5/1000th of an inch tolerance, right? So that's snug. Like it's going to be about as perfect as you can get. And then MGF makes it like a 10/1000th or a 15/1000th, you know, so it's a much sloppier tolerance. So you can get some that are like perfect, and then you can get some that are wiggly. I went, I don't want to sell wiggly. I want to sell.
Or you make a bunch of them, and you got to toss a portion of them as you test each one. Like,
which is
not good enough.
Well, I mean that would be cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that, right? So I went and sort of researched, and like I was looking at the original design, and then I thought, well, this would be a real pain in the ass to machine. Let me see if I can machine this out a different way. And so I changed some of the dimensions, changed a couple of things here and there, and all of a sudden the price came down significantly because of the new design. But it's also going to be like this nice, like, ooh, like the whole thing's going to be just perfect.
And you'll feel proud of it, and the proof of work will be there.
I hope so. And then I'll probably sell 10 of them and just be like,
but if they're of quality and people, you can take it for a fact that you feel confident in like what I am selling here at the price is worth it because you know so.
Right.
And when people buy it, and whether it's word of mouth or they realize, yeah, I would recommend this because they know they get one, it is quality.
Right.
Instead of like, oh, sometimes they're a little and they're good for a return. Customer service is good, but you know when there's a product like that, there's always kind of this, I mean, they work, but sometimes there's issues or people complain. Wow.
Right. Well, that table, I mean, the original workup for it was done by that guy that I used to work with, and the thing is, he would always eyeball stuff, right? And I would give him like specific dimensions. I'd say these need to be 50 millimeters apart. These need to be this. And he kind of go, yeah, I kind of just, you know. And then I'd get it, and it was like, this isn't right. Like, it's off. Oh yeah, well I kind of eyeballed that. I'm like, you can't. This is a machining process. It's not like just rando throw some shit out there, right? Just go, pretty good. Like we're not building a woodworking table, right? And so with this new design, like I went through and I just made everything like millimeter accurate, exactly the dimensions it's supposed to be, exactly aligned the way it's supposed to be, everything exact to very exacting dimensions. And now I'm just waiting on the MGF prototype to make sure that my measurements were correct. And then I can get the aluminum prototype and then make sure that actually comes out the way I expect it to. Then I'm off to the races.
Then print 100 of them, million of them, 1,000 of them.
Or 100 or 50. I don't know. We'll see. I think I'm going to start with 50 and just see.
See how it goes.
I really hope.
And then when they go like that, you're like, oh, shit, I kind of need a few hundred more here.
I need like 300 now, please. Yeah. But I mean, it's all kind of coming together, man. It's
awesome.
It's more satisfying so far. I'm pleased with the progress.
It'll be awesome.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
And then ultimately, waited longer for it, but worth it. Worth the wait.
Well, my original plan was to have this thing launching around January anyway. And then, you know, I left the Fiat world. And so that sort of accelerated my timeline. And I think that was part of the pressure I was putting on myself. I was like, well, I need to get this thing out there so I can have something coming in.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why don't you just pump the brakes, just make it right. And then, you know, if the market develops for it, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, I have no control over that. What I can do is just make sure that this thing is as close to what I envision and works as best as I can possibly make it. And then, you know, let the Bitcoin gods take over from there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Bitcoin odds are always in your favor.
Yeah.
May they be always ever in your favor.
But I'm hopeful that by this time next year, that the second phase of my goal setting will be enacted. I'll be a legit Bitcoin miner.
Cool.
It's coming soon. Super exciting times, man. Or I'm going to be living in a refrigerator box. I'll be in my car like this going, fuck, do I really have to take a job at Home Depot? God damn it. I had big plans.
The golden age may present itself as a highly Spartan but proud time.
Yeah, well, I don't mind the Spartan existence. I can definitely get on board with living sparse. But yeah, we'll see.
Santa's coming to town, and
That's got me a gift. I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
you'll find out. It's Bitcoin related.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, of course it is.
That's nothing.
I
special.
gave him a gift too. It was
meat.
Yeah, food from around my fridge.
Yours is worth more than mine is in terms of Intrinsic value.
Yeah, intrinsic.
Intrinsic value.
Nutritional value.
It will be intrinsic to my body.
I managed to. I was trying to time everything for like the moving day, but then there was a couple of like lazy days in there. Like I don't feel like cooking, so I was off by about 2 days worth of food. But Fritz now has 1 full can of unopened pepper. You're welcome.
Nice.
Brand spanking new.
My pepper shaker's almost empty right now, so hey.
Perfect timing. 2 jugs of organic bone broth and 2 pounds of ground beef.
I might cook
that. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I might cook that this weekend.
That's like some hardcore carnivore stuff right there.
Food.
Yeah, that's legit food.
Yeah, Fiat Christmas time, it's like, like we're going up to my sister's tomorrow, and my uncle will join us, and maybe somebody else. And it's culturally, it's sort of like, well, I mean, if we just showed up, say we showed up, and it's like, hey, we brought meat and broth, and like for me as a crazy person, it'd be like, this is like
awesome,
better than anything you could do, better than wine,
right?
Meat,
food.
But no, I gotta like
show up with a bunch of junk,
a couple little boxes of Legos for the kids, or maybe try to pick the right book, or find something to give them that they don't really need or want.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's always a conundrum, Christmas time conundrum of like, I have to get people stuff. They don't necessarily want or need anything, but I'm going to do it anyway, because if I do nothing, it'll be like, well, I got you a gift. Reciprocal fiat.
You can. I started, like, my nephews and my niece want for nothing. I mean, they just have more stuff. They have way more stuff than I do. So I started, and the thing is, I'd like get them something for Christmas, and it would just be like crickets. Just like, why did I do that? Just like they could give a shit what I got them.
You know how kids like, and I was such a sick little puppy when I was young, and just I want more stuff. Yeah. I was trained like,
get stuff,
kids, and it's never enough. Or I'm jealous. My sister got that. I wanted something like that.
Right.
And you tear it open. Oh, it's that. What's next?
Next.
Yeah. Tear it open. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Next. Yeah.
Oh, I hate it. But and then you have kids, and they love it, and it's
I started getting them donations to the Red Cross. Just make a donation in the family name. There you go. Cool. Enjoy. I think it serves 2 purposes. First, it's like, well, I'm thinking about you, I care about you, and I hate wasting money on junk. So here you go. Help someone else in need in your name. Merry Christmas.
Something a little more tangible, perhaps?
Well, help somebody.
Help somebody?
Yeah. Someone who really needs the help.
Yeah.
Not a bunch of kind of spoiled kids.
There was this one year my family was recognizing the need, the lack of a need for presents and stuff, and it's like, hey, instead of all of us giving each other stuff or trying to guess, or my various people in my family like, well, what do the kids want? What do they want? Well, what would they want? It's like, I'm just like, nothing. Like, don't give them another thing, please. You just gave them something last month when you visited.
Yeah. They got plenty of things.
And it's another plastic thing we have to decide at some point how we throw it away. Or when they've stopped using it for months, and you just make it disappear, and they don't ever notice.
Right.
Or they see it over there, and they're like, hey, I want that thing.
Yeah.
And okay, and then they never play with it.
Right.
We all agreed, like, hey, let's all make donations to our own personal favorite charity for each other. And so you can pick yours, but you're giving it to them. And then we all learn about different kinds of charities.
That's nice.
And so that was a really good thought. And we did that one year.
Yeah.
And there was this funny this childish fiat, like, letdown that people felt when you open a gift, and it's like, hey, I bought some chickens for African family, and like, oh, that's cool, yeah. Oh, I can't remember what it's called, but there's an organization that would, in African villages, they would take the money and literally buy like an expensive item would be like, we bought a cow
or a goat
yeah. or chickens, or
right.
But it's
some
like
productive
that's
animal.
Their economy, and that to them that's very meaningful.
Yeah.
For us, it's like not as much money to buy, say, an animal, and like, but for that family, that's like could be milk for years.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, so it's really a cool thing. I can't remember what it's called, dang it, but it's got a cool name. But it's like, oh, hey, mom bought me, or mom's gift to me was a donation to a goat to an African family. It's like, oh, that's really cool, and I learned about that. And then at the end of the day, you're like, well,
but I
didn't get any chocolate.
Yeah, I didn't get a pair of socks.
I'm gonna have to go buy my own bar of chocolate now.
Damn it!
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
But anyway, Christmas is. You walk into stores and it's like plastic stuff hanging all over. I want jingly, sparkly things.
Yeah. No.
Why? Christmas. I never thought about it. My family wasn't particularly religious at all, but it's and I appreciate Christianity. I'm not Christian per se, but it's the closest approximation and belief systems that I kind of relate to in our society that has some good stuff there, and that I just know a lot of people that I relate to about it. So Christianity, good. And Christmas being a metaphor for me, I grew up with like, okay, the Christmas tree and Santa, and it's like this magical spirit.
Right.
A Christmas tree kind of being like, we go out and cut a tree, and I'm contemplating we're killing this thing to hang in crucifixion in the living room for a month or whatever, and then we toss it or burn it or something.
Yeah. And
it's like a crucifixion in the room sitting there, and you nail it all up and hang it up, and then the star and all that. I get this meta view on all of it as just being really weird. But as a kid, I loved it all.
Yeah.
My kids, they love it all.
Right.
And I do it for an experience we have. The true meaning of it is, it's a reminder to me of like being mindful of the spirit of things, the family values.
Sure.
A role in society for traditions, whether they make it all sense or not. It's something to do that we just have a story to tell about it.
Oh.
And
the spider-infested fire hazard.
I know. There was a spider. We haul a tree in from the woods that we go and get ourselves, you know. And there's leaves in it. There's some moss on it. There was a spider in it.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, ew, ew. And I'm just like, we just hauled this thing out of the woods, and it's, it's kind of funny.
Some dead squirrel fall out.
And then you cover it in little plastic trinkets and stuff.
Yeah. Spider-infested fire hazard. Kind of Christmas tumbleweed. I hail from the desert, so tumbleweeds are pretty disposable. Pretty good.
They can be very shapely.
Yeah. You spray it with a little shellac and then just put it in a little stand and then put some lights and some tinsel on it. Good to go. And set that thing on fire in 2 seconds flat. Easy money. See ya.
I look forward to Christmas for the kids' experience, but the extra time and stress and everything about it. Sometimes I'm a total Grinch.
Yeah.
I'll be like, God damn it! Like, why am I doing this? Do we have to do this? Like,
yeah, it's easy to Grinch out.
Who's going to do this? Well, Daddy is. Okay, Daddy's going to make the tree straight, and ultimately, kids went off to something else. Well, I'll finish hanging the shit.
Yeah. See ya. Remember all the fond memories, kids.
But this morning, kids and I made snowmen. We got just the right amount of perfect wet snow out there, and with it like an inch of snow, we made couple of cool snowmen. The kids loved it, and you could say it's gonna melt and you're gonna have to take those stick arms off and toss them off, Nah, I'm a Grinch. no, it was fun playtime for the kids.
Little briquettes.
For them, it's very symbolic.
Like, I remember trying to make snowmen in New Mexico, and that's not a great snow environment, so you end up with like these things that are like filled with leaves and lawn clippings, and it's all just sort of like, it's like this ratty. Like, I'm like a homeless snowman. Oh, it's like, Christ. Yay.
We put carrots for the nose, and anyway, it's cool. They look cool.
That's a back east kind of thing for sure. Like if you live in Pennsylvania, it snows, right? So you can like get yourself a nice fat snowman. Those big bellied.
Oh, I got great memories of snow forts and Idaho and snow.
Yeah, works. New Mexico, this place.
So you're moving. This is our last in-person live deal for a while.
Bitcoin Liberty Live.
Yeah.
Remote.
Yeah. It'll be Bitcoin Liberty Remote.
Yeah.
We'll keep doing it. You want to talk about the move? How you're feeling about it?
I feel great, man. I'm actually, the only thing historically speaking, when I take a big road trip, I would do like my dad did, which is just hop in the car, drive until you're about ready to collapse.
Can't stop, Jerry.
Yeah.
Can't stop.
And then pull over at some Fleabag motel, sleep at whatever, and then get up in the morning and just rush straight through to the next stop, right? Mm-hmm. But no planning, no like I'm going to get here. You're just and do going. This. You're just going, trying to maximize efficiency. And so last night I was like, I'm just going to book a hotel. So I have somewhere I need to be, and I have somewhere to stay. And it's like, I know I'm not going to be in a Fleabag motel. Like I did this with my sister. We drove out to Missouri once to visit my grandparents. And we stopped at this guy, don't know what it was. Man, this place, it looked like someone had just died in the room recently. It was just like, Christ, we just left. Like there's no refund, so like, I don't care, keep it. Like whatever, not sleeping in this, whatever this thing is. I mean, just stains on the mattress, stains on the floor. It was like just ratty. It smelled like cigarettes. It was gross, right? Mm-hmm. So just not doing that. So this time I was like, no, why don't I just book some hotels on the way? And so my only decision point right now is, do I stay 2 days in Henderson, Nevada and play 2 rounds of golf? Or do I stay 1 day in Henderson, Nevada and play 1 round of golf? And that's it.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is it's like a championship course, and I'm not like, world's greatest golfer or anything. So I have this very strange fear, like this internal fear. Like I'm super self-conscious on the golf course. It's really troubling to me. Like I can stand up, I can talk to big crowds of people, I can do public speaking engagements. Oh, I can deal with it, right? There, like, I don't know what happens, but something just...
You might be all alone and you kind of whiff one, and off in the woods somewhere is like...
Right, yeah. That's what I feel like in the back of my head constantly. These people think my setup is weird. No one is thinking about me at all. No one gives a shit. But I need to overcome that somehow. And so I feel like if I just go out and put myself out on this Jack Nicklaus designed championship course in Nevada, that might maybe help me get over that a little bit. Or it'll just reinforce it so bad that I'll never play golf again. I don't know. But it's like tons of water hazards and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm just like, oh, God, it's either going to be like, all right, that was pretty good, or that was brutal. I just lost like 32 balls on one course. I've never shot. I think I'm the first person to shoot a 200. So we'll see. But that's the sort of decision point right now. The other idea that I had, though, is right in the Las Vegas area is a golf course called Wolf Creek, which is insane. I mean, it's a links course, and it's like
hard
up and down canyons, and like there's stuff where like you're in the tee box and you have to clear this canyon, period. Like there's no like, oh, just duff it off to the side. It's like, no, you have to get across, and it has to land in that grass, or you're borked.
Random folks are like walking around looking for their ball.
Oh no, that little canyon I'm sure has like thousands of balls in it.
Yeah.
Right? And some of these, I mean, just super challenging course, right? Like, and like you'll come up on these greens where like the green is like 50 feet higher than you are, and like it's just madness. And the greens are all sloped weird, and there's just nothing but rocks and shit on the sides. There's no like rough. It's just like you got some fairway
and rocks
and rocks, cactus and all sorts of. And so there's part of me that's like, I should go try Wolf Creek, because I used to play it on this little stupid game on my phone, and I've seen the course like from there, and I was like, Christ, this would be crazy to play this in person. The neat thing about the game on the phone is like you can go to all these, like Pebble Beach and all these crazy places where it would be cost prohibitive or skill prohibitive to be on the course, but you can actually see what the holes look like, right? And Wolf Creek was always one, like even in the game, it's hard to play. So I'm like, God, that would be kind of fun to just
bring extra balls.
Shit. But that happened to me.
Splash.
Like,
Splash.
I went to the old course up here in Hood River, and they have a canyon on the back, and I literally did like the tin cup thing. It was just like, schwink. Oh, that's in the ditch. Okay, well, let's try another one. Schwink. Like 8 balls, dude. Just one after the other. And I finally got over the stupid hump, but it was just...
It's like after a few of them, you're looking around like, is anybody watching me?
Yeah. I mean,
is somebody waiting on me?
Well, like the only reason I was able to do it is because no one else was on the course. It was just me and my buddy, right? But had anyone else been out there, it would have been like 3 or 4 swats at it, and then it's like, oh, I guess I just give up on this hole.
There's a group behind you with their hand on their club going like...
But that's part of the problem.
Whenever you're done.
It's like when I started golfing in LA, every tee box in Los Angeles is packed in the morning, right? Like there are like 5 groups waiting at the tee box. So when you go up, there's like 20 or 30 guys standing around. And the first guy that hits like a shitty shot or a shank or something like that, all you hear from the crowd, oh, fuck, man, god damn it. Like, and it's just like, you guys are fucking brutal, dude, you know? And so when you're getting up there, like, I remember my hands would be like shaking, trying to put the ball in. It's crazy. Like, who cares? Like, I'm just about to whack a ball with a stick. Who gives a shit? But
not that I watch professional golf, but when you do happen to see it, and it's like, and the announcers are like, oh, he's gonna do this thing.
Yeah.
And there's a wall of people, and just it might be the most random putt of anything, and whatever happens, the whole crowd is like, oh
yeah.
Yeah. Talk about pressure, like, you know, getting the whole ball.
Well, you know what's crazy is like they have these clips on YouTube now where they'll put together like pros like being like us, you know. I mean, they're always like golf is hard, and then there's a shot of like Tiger Woods literally hits the ball off the hosel, which is the little thing that connects to the shaft, the head to the shaft. And if you hit the hosel, things are not going your way. But this ball is just like, it's Tiger Woods, and you're just like, oh. Woo. But there's guys who are literally like, they try and hit something, and it's just like they're hitting into the water, they're shanking stuff, they're firing stuff off in the crowds. Just they're chipping, and they hit like a bloop that goes like 6 inches, and all. I mean, it's like, which is basically my game at all times. But just to see them, you go, these guys have swung those clubs hundreds of thousands of times, if not millions of times, and they're still once in a while just like, boom. Oh, are you kidding me? I just sculled that over the green.
Managing that and doing what you can, even while everybody's watching.
Yeah, in front of a crowd. I came up with a thing. Tell me what you think of this statement. You don't play golf, do you?
I have before. I'm not a golfer.
Check this out. Some women play golf. All men play golf. That's a challenge. If you don't play golf, you're not a man.
I would love to play golf. Well, I'd love to do a lot of things. For me, it's kind of just having the time, taking the time. It'd be like if I knew that I had another lifetime on my hands, unencumbered.
Yeah,
I would be playing golf.
Oh yeah,
like a lot. Not just golf, but I'd be playing golf.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Like if you think about like the physics involved of hitting a golf ball, it's insane. You shouldn't be able to do it. If you think about what you are trying to accomplish, you shouldn't really be able to do it. And if you think about how much work it takes to get to a place where you can pretty routinely make that happen, it's insane. It's absolute madness. And it's a game that involves being outdoors, walking, thinking, strategizing, playing around things. It's like it is one of the most perfect games for all men.
It kind of is.
This is a man's
game. A walk
game.
in the woods, a walk in the park, and it's self work. But you can do it with buddies.
Yeah.
It can be a team if you want. It can also just be your personal thing.
Everything you need to know about a man, you can determine on a golf course. 100%.
I bet it's a good litmus test for like how do you handle stuff.
Patience, tenacity, like how rigorous are you? Mm-hmm. How much emotional control do you have? How much personal control do you have? How much personal agency do you have?
And as you're playing it, you're practicing.
Yeah.
So I mean, you think of like what is it, Billy Madison or whatever. So I mean, so like, you know, people who can't handle say things well generally might get on the golf course and like as a metaphor, you know, damn it, you know, I expect to perform, or things should be easier.
But that's exactly it, right? Because that tells you so much about that person. Mm-hmm. Because if you see someone out there snapping clubs like that, I guarantee you that's not a person that's out practicing all the time.
Sure.
So they have this expectation, they have this outsized self-perception that says, hey, I'm way more confident in my abilities than my actual abilities attest to. And it's now on full display. And now that has been exposed, they can't deal with it. They emotionally cannot deal with the reality of the amount of effort they put into their game. Mm-hmm. So you can see that from a mile away, and you go, oh, that's a very interesting thing to know about that human being.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just pick up a lot from, like, just watching people play golf, how they deal with the golf course, how they manage themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, it's.
And when you play, recognizing in yourself, oh, I'm feeling these feelings right now.
Yeah.
Managing. Zen in the art of golf. It's not the golf, it's not the ball, it's not the hole. It's the Zen, and that is also your life.
Right. I mean, I think it's a great window into a person's soul.
I can see that.
And like I don't think the ladies appreciate it as much, just because it's sort of mathy. I mean, if you think about it, it's like trigonometry and
a little bit
geometry and all sorts of stuff.
Kind of the gestalt and like
the physics
gut
of it
feel
all.
of that, but
Right.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like what iron? I remember going through that. Like what iron? Like this distance, kind of that maybe height, or do I need to get up high? Do I need to get it long?
Yeah.
Oh, 5-iron,
right.
versus like 9-iron.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm just getting all that sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. I'm evangelizing golf on the Bitcoin show, but that's a big part of my move coming up is where I'm going to play golf.
For sports in general, for me, golf represents it well, but it's the sportsmanship and the life experience, self work you do in the sport versus the stats, the points, the team, the tribalism, the money, which is what I see in sports. Overtly, that's what I all see.
Yeah.
Bitcoiners, I mean, there's various Bitcoiners, and I'll see, like on what Bitcoin did, they'll get into their England football, soccer.
Oh, right.
And they'll go into that for a while, and I kind of like, okay, I don't care, but it's their sport. Corey Clipston, big into basketball.
Yeah.
Something else. I'm trying to think. Anyway, there's Bitcoiners that have their sport, and that's kind of their go-to little side thing, and it's sportsmanship and play and banter about stuff people do that men do, and women. And I'm not into any of it, like as other than it would be fun to play for fun and competition, but not seriously, ever, not seriously. So for me, my read on people is cool to learn, play, practice, compete in sports, all good. But whenever any of that when I see someone get really like serious about it, I'm kind of like, it's beyond me. I will never relate to that.
No.
So I don't know, like who's winning the pennant. It's just like, doesn't matter to me.
Well, you know what I learned when I did a fantasy baseball league? Like I was very anti-team sports for a long time, and then I did a fantasy baseball league at the urging of my coworkers. Were saying, "Dude, we just need one more person, please." And I'm like, whatever. And within a few months, like I'm watching the games, right? And then after a few months of watching the games, like you get to know these personalities that are playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were along for the ride, and especially with something like baseball, because that's a grinder. It's like 160 games a season kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're in this sort of grinder with them all the time. And you see their trials and tribulations and how they overcome things and their emotional struggles. And, they got benched, or they got injured, or they're this, or, and they make these amazing plays sometimes and they screw stuff up.
You get caught up in it.
So what I realized about it is like, I am a fan of these people, not because of the stats, but because of the people and watching them go through this journey. And then that sort of like vicarious, like, oh, if I were in this, I wouldn't have been able to do that, or I could have done this, or I wonder how I would have, so it's almost like watching a movie or a reality TV show. Like it's the same mechanism, I think, that is like sort of infecting your brain. But I get it. I got it after that, because I was always like, what, you just want to watch a bunch of men running around in tights, you fag?
They are people.
But they're people,
They're people, and they got lives. And
you're watching these people perform at this like super high level of ability, and then watching them sort of fail sometimes at it. So there's like that humanizing thing. I got it after that. Prior to that, I didn't really get the whole like, what do I care about this, right? But yeah, after it kind of made a lot more sense. So I don't,
Yeah, I tend to care more about
sports ball.
Yeah, dodgeball. I tend to care more about sports or competitions when I feel grounded and connected to the people involved. And it's not at all really who wins or loses. It's really how they played and how that affected them or grew them. So it's easy for me to relate to my kids when I would watch them. You know, my kid is big into swimming competition. So, and for him, it's very personal solo sport, but he's grown a lot. Swimming, or when they play soccer, or when my kids, you know, played that season of football, or you watch the high school team, and it's like these are kids,
right?
And the coach is, you know, good and great, but also teaches or whatever,
right?
And there's this connection to what's happening here. And the higher I go up, like I can appreciate college.
Yeah.
Sometimes money gets involved with that, and it's kind of like,
always,
shit, like
now
that's
it's a
just
business,
a mess. Or like so in Idaho, the highest paid state employee in Idaho for a long time was Coach Peterson. Yeah. Now the Broncos were just amazing, and these magical stories, and it was incredible, and they built up the stadium year after year, more stadium, more people, more okay, and it became this economy, but then ultimately it's kind of like, without the connection to the students and what that was, I was like, I just saw it as an economy,
right?
Versus, are the kids learning at school?
No.
Or if we can, like, hey, teacher, if you cannot flunk them, they can play next week.
Right.
You know, wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
It's like, oh, shit, this guy, you know, the guy's an idiot, but he can throw a ball. Yeah. Not to judge it, but the higher you go up, I start to judge it harshly, and more harshly as far as, who are these people? Where are they from? Why are they here? The draft, the brokering, who owns the stadium, who owns the team, what's the money? You know, what they floated a bond for the city to pay this guy's stadium off?
Right.
Fuck you.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a racket, man.
It's a racket.
But, you know, I mean, there's a lot of rackets out there, so.
Anyway, but at least people have a show to watch.
I don't know. Well, you know, when I was coming back from Portland, I stayed in the hotel. There was a football game on. I was sitting there at the bars ordering some food, you know. And this kid came on. I can't remember what teams were playing, Broncos and somebody maybe. I can't remember. But
it doesn't matter.
The quarterback was a kid that went to U of O. He was a Duck. And I don't know what it was. When I learned that information, I was like, oh, I'm kind of rooting for this guy now.
Yeah, right.
Like, just randomly. Like, I don't follow the Ducks. I don't follow the Beavers. I'm not, like, you know, well immersed into the college football scene around here. And, you know, Oregon doesn't have a pro team, so these guys are, like, deep into this stuff. But, yeah, just learning that little tidbit, I was like, oh, and he was doing really well, too. So I was like, oh.
I mean, you can see that
the Oregon guy's doing good. Yeah, you know.
But there's that connection to, this was a kid who was a decent, certainly good in high school, perhaps, good in college, was a student, and now is even better.
Yeah.
And there's some thread there that this is a person who worked hard.
Yeah.
A lot of proof of work, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of proof of work.
He earned it, you know.
In football, the closest connection I can get is the kicker. I don't know who the teams are. I don't care who wins or who's ahead or who's behind. But whenever there's a kicker and a field goal, especially if there's a long field goal they're trying to make for some good reason, I always root for the kicker. I want them to make the kicker goal, because I played soccer for years, but I just know what's involved with that, and it's this whole, like, got to make this like a golf shot. Got to make this shot. And it's like achievable, but really not easy.
Yeah.
I always root for the kicker, and I'm always happy when they make a field goal. That's my favorite part of football.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally relate. Well, there was that movie about, like, I think there was an actual guy, right? There was a walk-on for a pro team.
Probably.
Like, there was some dude in a bar that was like, oh, I could kick a football, blah, blah, blah. And they said, no fucking way. And so they took him out in the parking lot, and this guy just booted a ball some ungodly amount of distance. And there happened to be a scout there who was like, can you do that again? The guy's like, yeah, I can do this all day. Boom. And
I use a hockey stick.
Yeah, and he was just booting the shit out of these balls, and then they, you know, tried him out, and I guess he ended up going to the pros after that. And
I remember some story, like he was a soccer
I think
player.
They made a movie about him. Like
probably.
Mark Wahlberg. I think Mark Wahlberg played him.
Yeah, what was that movie? Anyway. There was a soccer player who just had never played football but could kick a ball.
Yeah.
Like, you want a penalty kick at 50 yards.
No problem.
Like, I could do that.
Yeah.
And then, so as a kicker, you know, I don't want the offense to break through and hurt the guy.
Right.
And I want him to get the kickoff as that's coming. And that little microcosm of a drama,
yeah.
I love that.
That's enough.
And then if he can get the ball off and then he makes this little bink.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Those guys are pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, like, I played football as a kid, so it was kind of like, I played baseball too. I played more baseball than football, but I mean, so like I can watch the game and kind of go, I kind of know what's going on. I mean, I don't know it, like, oh, that's a nickelback defense or something like that. Like, I don't have that level of engagement, but I don't think most football people do either. So
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
do a left hook.
Got enough of
left
this
flank
shit, right?
Ganger bopper.
Strategy. All right, so that's $1.30.
I'm gonna play
Last
pocket
live.
pool. We're gonna go wrap this up. Play pocket pool.
Pocket pool. What?
You ever heard pocket pool?
Yeah, I was playing with your balls.
That's my sport. You get the right pants with the long enough pockets. I'm a sportsman. Tick tock, tick.
Sticking balls.
Next block, tick tock. All right, I'm an athlete. I'm kind of an athlete.
Pocket pool. I am not going to play pocket pool. I'm going to do burpees. I got some burpees. I owe burpees. I got 200 to do, and then this week is in the bag. I've managed now almost in February. I think it'll be 2 years that I have consistently 4 days a week, 20 minutes each day, done burpees.
20 minutes.
February will be the 2-year mark doing burpees. So just yesterday I did 87 10-count burpees in 20 minutes. Today I'm going to do 200 6-count burpees in 20 minutes.
Wow.
So underneath this big gooey exterior is this like
you're
really
stronger than I am.
Buff, strong, powerful man that looks like he eats pizza 3 times a day, 7 days a week, and washes it down with a quart of beer. Christ, dude, I got to figure this out. I cannot keep being this like dough body thing.
You got a hot furnace going, and you also want to feed it with the best wood.
Yeah.
Burn it.
Well, I got to feed it less wood.
Less wood.
More pocket pool.
You tie down the dampers a little bit and let it burn hot.
Yeah, I guess so.
Slow and steady.
Oh, it's driving me crazy, man, because I look in the mirror and it's just like, dude, you're doing all this work. No one, like, I have the proof of work and it's hidden under proof of pudding. Pure proof of pudding.
Proof of burpees and proof
last live show for the time being. I think the future is bright, though. Pretty sure we're going to be doing these live from, like, remote locations, exotic locations, like BTC Prague.
Anywhere we want to be.
BTC Las Vegas.
Abu Dhabi,
man. I think
last
Robin
week
got
we
to go
missed
to
it.
Mina. Oh, that would have been awesome.
Mina just happened.
Next year, Abu Dhabi, 100%. I'm going to be there. Yeah, that's my big plan. It's either I'm going to be at all these amazing Bitcoin conferences all next year, or I'm going to be in a refrigerator box under a freeway somewhere in New Mexico.
Home Depot needs overtime for some stocking.
Yeah, and I'll just be sitting there with my little desk, just like, I'll be like the McDonald's meme. Bitcoin.
Can I take your order? I'm going to stack some more sats tonight.
Yeah. Praying to the Bitcoin gods.
I'm going to go, I think, with my daughter, we might go find Santa somewhere. He's in town, and we're going to say hi. We'll see if she doesn't freak out.
Yeah.
With a pedophile in a suit. We'll see.
Oh, my God.
That's all I can think of. My work has ruined me, but that's another aspect of Christmas and all that stuff. It's just like, how is Santa not a pedophile? Sorry. Oh my God. I mean, to believe, to just give your trust into something like that, unless it's just spiritual to you. Yeah, to me it's like.
Well, the modern incantation of Santa Claus was designed by Coca-Cola.
That's right.
Because the traditional, he's like forest colors.
Right.
Apparently.
However he's dressed, it's like.
Well, have you heard of the Sexy Santa? Beverly Hills. There's some big, huge mall in Beverly Hills. It's like one of the biggest malls in the country. But every year, they hire Sexy Santa, and this guy comes down with like
no shirt,
6-pack, just beautiful man person comes down the little escalator stairs, and then these like women line up for hours to go sit on Sexy Santa's lap.
Oh man.
I mean,
I trust that more than an older man with kids.
Kid sitting on his lap. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I know it's innocent or supposed to be innocent. I hate to say I know people who would love that job as well for the wrong reasons.
People you super.
They exist. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So,
well, then don't take your kid to that. I mean.
No. I mean, it's all cool and innocent. She loves it. I don't want to groom my kid to say, yeah, some random bearded old man that's got a lollipop. Trust him.
Yeah, this is good. Well,
hey, I got a gift for you. Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, all good.
In the van, the sleigh-colored van.
Yeah, the sleigh-colored van. Come on in.
Sorry, I'm very protective and cynical, but Santa is a magical, special thing for kids, so they'll figure it out.
It's a Coke branding thing. It's Coca-Cola Company made that.
Yeah.
Popular. Anyway,
it works. It sells
on
stuff.
that note,
go out and buy stuff.
Yeah, buy
Wrap
things.
them up and give them to people.
Yeah.
Bye, folks.
Doodles.